4, 3, 2, 1.
The jack of all trades.
Peace, love, and light to the family. This is DoMo, the jack of all trades. DoMoJOAT. And today, we're going to be talking about the coronavirus. The name of this presentation is I'm above all viruses. Right? So that is an affirmation for saying I'm above all viruses. Not just speaking about myself, but you, family, the people that are watching this video at home. You need to say this because when you speak this thing, you will speak it into existence, right? And when you know that you are above all viruses, you will know that your body has an immune system that can fight these pathogens and mycobacteria that enter your body, right? And viruses, we have to understand and we have to know what a virus is and see how these things enter. You can't believe the media, right? And see what they project to us and their fake news and their fallacies and things of that nature. We have to be aware and be conscious of how they put these things out there to basically warp the minds of the people, right? And this is how they can spread a viral infection, right? The coronavirus, and things go viral. So this is how it infects, right? So we're going to speak about the coronavirus today, and we're going to speak about what a virus is. So let's break it down. Let's talk about it. Coronavirus, COVID-19, I'm above all viruses. DoMo, jack of all trades, that's me. Let's get right into it. So what is a virus? So we're going to read the definition. An infective agent that typically consists of a nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat, is too small to be seen by light microscopy and is able to multiply only within the living cells of a host. A virus infection, right? So it's an infective agent, right? So it's infective and it's an agent. We speak about agents all the time in the community. See how they infiltrate, right? So, and they typically consist of a nucleic acid. So this is dealing with DNA and RNA, right? Because it has a protein coat, right? And how they enter the cell, right? So it has to be inside of a living host of the cell. So the host has to be living. So the virus is dead. It's dead cell particles. Sorry, family. Dead cell particles that enter the cell that poisons the cell, right? So you can see here we have different viruses. The Ebola virus, which is what they said came from Africa, right? It came from Africa, right? And also the influenza. People die from the flu. Millions of people die from the flu every year. Compared it to the coronavirus, it's not even half as much, right? But the world has stopped because of this coronavirus. So we're going to speak about how this coronavirus has stopped the world and why, and the hidden agendas behind this thing, right? The West Nile virus. You can see the strand of it on how it looks by light microscopy. And now we're at the coronavirus. So the reason why they call it the coronavirus is because corona in Latin means crown, right? And the reason why they call it that because when you look at the coronavirus like this, you can see that it has different strands, right? And the strands, when they come around it, and it looks like a crown. That's the reason why they call it the coronavirus, right? So we got to remember that it's different strands of this virus, right? So now we're going to speak about pathogens, types of pathogens. Right? We have virus, right? So we have viruses, the coronavirus, right? You also have bacteria, right? So we have people are talking all about this antibacterial soap and hand sanitizer and things of that nature, not understanding that we have good bacteria that we actually need on the body, as well, in the body as well, right? And you have prion, you have funguses, so fungi, right? People that eat mushrooms, right? That's a part of the fungi family. And hemoliths, toxins, and other parasites. Right? So these are your pathogens. We also have parasites in the foods. So like I just said, funguses, right? So those are, that's a family of the pathogens. We also have parasites that exist inside of the meats. People that still eat a lot of meat. People that eat chicken, pork, turkey. Parasites are all up in those kind of foods, right? You have the tapeworms, roundworms, hookworms. All of these worms exist inside of these dead carcasses, right? So we have to be aware of where these parasites come from and how they enter our body. tapeworms. You can see how the tapeworms look inside the body on as an X-ray, in an X-ray form. You can see how the worms, right here, you can see an eye, a person's eye right there, right? So we have to understand how these parasites get in the body, right? So you can see here that it clearly starts from animals. That's one part to it. Now, parasites, protozoa, fungi, prokaryote, right? These are all cellular and they're living, right? Now, when we talk about viruses or prion, they are acellular, so they're non-living. So we have to understand now, when we speak about a virus, viruses are dead cell particles, right? So they're acellular, so that means they're non-living. So this non-living microvirus has to enter the cell of a living host. So us being the living thing, right, or the living organism, virus enters us. So now we're going to speak about antigens and pathogens, right? What is an antigen? What is a pathogen? An antigen is a toxin or foreign substance which induces an immune response in the body, especially the production of antibodies. You have to remember this. We have to remember what antibodies are. We're going to speak about that because that's going to deal a lot when we speak about vaccines. Pathogen, right? A pathogen is a bacterium, virus, or other microorganism that can cause disease. All right, so we just spoke about all of these different pathogens. So now we're going to speak on the antigen. So the antigen is a toxin or a foreign substance. So something that's foreign to the body that enters the body, right? So these antigens, right, induces an immune response. So you have an immune system. Your immune system is there to basically protect the entire body, right? To protect pathogens, right, and things that are foreign that are entering the body to cause harm, to cause dysfunction. Your immune system has to be on response. It has to stimulate that response to protect itself. The body has its own defense mechanism with the immune system, right, with the immunoglobulin and things of that nature, right? So the antigens, right, induce, right? So what the antigens do, induce that immune response, right? And it produces antibodies. Those antibodies are used to fight pathogens. You can see over here, right, the antibodies, right, they're attached to the antigens, right? Those antigens prevent the pathogen from entering the whole cell, right? Antibodies cause the pathogens to come together, right? And this is how we stop the pathogens. This is how your body defends itself, right? So now we have to see how the antigens are getting in the body. How do we produce these antigens, right? They're other molecules that enter the body. They're foreign substances, so you can get these things, right? So this is speaking about the virus, right? Unique traits of a virus. Do not show all characteristics of life. So we know that the viruses are non-living. They're dead, right? They must replicate inside of a host cell. So the host has to be living. The virus is dead, which can be any living organism, right? But viruses, though, are specific to each host. What that means is that to each host, right, where the virus enters through, it can mutate, right? So it can affect each host differently. So that's very important to remember how these viruses work, especially with this coronavirus that we're speaking about. Now, vaccines. The vaccines are definitely going to come with this coronavirus. So we have to be prepared for that with the knowledge and information that we need to do to combat that. So vaccines are used to prevent the future viral infections by giving a dead or weak version of the virus to cause the body's immune response to create antibodies against that virus. So we just spoke about the antibodies, right? So you gotta understand that with the vaccines, that means that they are already inoculating you. They're injecting the person with the virus. So with the vaccine, it's an involuntary injection of the disease. You're automatically getting the disease once you get injected with the vaccine. But they're telling you that they're giving you the antibodies as well with it to fight off the viral infection, right? So now we're talking about infectious diseases and zoonotic diseases. Remember what I said earlier about these parasites they're derived from animals, right? The parasites, most of these pathogens, these worms, these tapeworms, a lot of these parasites, they come from animals. So infectious diseases are caused by pathogenic microorganisms such as bacteria, viruses, parasites, or fungi. The disease can be spread directly or indirectly from one person to another. This is one thing they're saying about the coronavirus, is how you can spread it. And then people can be asymptomatic, not showing any symptoms for weeks, and then they can still spread that virus to somebody else, right? See how they can pass that on? All right? Now, the zoonotic diseases are infectious diseases of animals that can cause disease when transmitted to humans. All right, cool. So, zoonotic diseases, right? So, the coronavirus is classified as a zoonotic disease. Zoonotic. The new coronavirus is zoonotic, meaning it was transmitted from animals to people. The SARS coronavirus came from civet cats and MERS came from camels. It's not known which animal caused the current coronavirus outbreak. It is a mystery scientists believe they must solve to prevent future outbreak. The prime suspect so far is the pangolin, an endangered creature that looks like the crossbreed between an anteater and an armadillo. So what this is saying is that the coronavirus, the strand of it, the first strand is a zoonotic disease, meaning that it came from animals, right? So what I said earlier in the presentation is that we eat animals, right? Well, not we, but people in America, people of the world, right? We eat a lot of dead carcasses. We eat dead flesh, right? And this is where most of these parasites and pathogens derive from. This is where they come from, right? So that's important. So if we constantly keep putting these the dead flesh, the dead carcasses inside us with these parasites, then they will be inside of us to activate, right? So eating dead flesh, consumption of animal products. Those who eat meat, including poultry and fish, are found to be 3 times as likely to become demented compared to their vegetarian counterparts. The same diet loaded with animal products that causes heart disease and cancer also causes most of every other disease prevalent in America. So what that is saying is, we got to understand that, how many people die a year from heart disease and cancer, right? So way more people than the coronavirus. So this is very important, family, about eating dead animals, right? That has the parasites, that has these viruses inside of them, right? So this is one way for these things to even enter our genome, to enter our bodies, right? So should we be eating meat and flesh? That is completely up to yourselves, right? Is our bodies a cemetery? We eat to live, right? We eat electric foods. We eat foods to charge ourselves. We eat food for energy. That's why we put live foods in us. Food from nature. Food that consists of all of the 4 elements of nature. Water, air, fire, earth, right? So this is why we put foods inside of us. Things that have vitality, right? So dead things go inside of the cemetery. So now we know that the coronavirus is a what? A respiratory virus, right? It causes respiratory issues. So when we speak about the respiratory, we got to speak about the respiratory system, one of the 12 systems of the body, right? So respiratory, right? Respiratory, when we speak about the spirit, right? That's like the unseen force, right? Spirit, respiratory. So that's air. Unseen force is air, oxygen that we breathe in, right? So we have our nose takes in the air, and the nasal cavities, right, filters the air. So this is very important. So we got to understand the respiratory system, right? How do viruses even enter, right? When that's airborne, we breathe those things in. So we're supposed to be breathing in through our nose and out through our mouths. This is how you filter the air. Sometimes we don't even know how to breathe properly to actually get oxygen to the cell. And we're going to speak about oxygen actually killing viruses, right? Because when your cell is deprived of oxygen, it can become cancerous, right? So you can see here with the respiratory system, how all of this, you have your nose here, air comes in, filter the air comes in, right? So this is another way, this is the way of how we actually intake oxygen, right? So hydrogen peroxide kills viruses. So we got to understand viruses. How now we know that how the viruses get into the body, right? How can we kill them? Because hydrogen peroxide, what is hydrogen peroxide? The info on hydrogen peroxide is not only fights bacteria, but it also fights viruses, parasites, and yeast as well, right? It can effectively fight high blood pressure, HPV, multiple sclerosis, arthritis, and asthma as well. Right? Hydrogen peroxide, when injected, it kills disease by mimicking the immune response and increases levels of oxygen in the body. Now we keep speaking about oxygen. Hydrogen peroxide, right? So hydrogen peroxide addresses bacterial health Problems like the flu, common cold, sinuses, infections. These are respiratory issues, right? Respiratory issues. Respiratory, right? Respirit is that unseen force, which is the air, the oxygen, right? Now the respiratory issues, which is, or the diseases like, the flu, the common cold, the coronavirus, which is called this respiratory issue, right? That means you having an issue with actually getting oxygen to the cell. And now we see that oxygen, right, is hydrogen peroxide, is what's killing viruses. Why? Because it increases levels of oxygen in the body. It's very important. So now we can see on a molecular level how oxygen, O2, right, O2 is oxygen, and you have a superoxide over here, and a superoxide ductase right here, right, which becomes together, right, to create the hydrogen peroxide, the H2O2, right, and it kills the virus, right? So when you bring more oxygen to the cell, it kills or depletes the virus, right? This is how hydrogen peroxide kills viruses. Hence the reason why they even use it or market it to be in Lysol, right? A virus killer, all right? So now you can see here with alkalinity, right? Something that, Dr. Sebi spoke highly on, as well as a lot of different herbalists and different naturopaths and different teachers, right? So you can see here Dr. Otto Warburg, right? He won a Nobel Peace Prize in 1931. Why? Because he discovered the root cause of cancer, right? So cancerous tissues are acidic, right? So that means that they're not alkaline, right? So with the pH scale, pH meaning potential hydrogen over 7, right? Anything under 7 is acidic. Anything your body naturally wants to be a 7.3 pH, right? So that's going to be that balance, right? And too much alkaline will be alkatosis, and too much acidity, acidosis, right? So water splits. So whereas healthy tissues are alkaline, water splits into H positive and OH negative ions. If there's an excessive of H positive, it is acidic, right? So the positive ion is going to cause it to be acidic. If there's an excessive of OH negative ions, then it's alkaline. All normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen. I repeat, family, all normal cells have an absolute requirement for oxygen. But cancer cells can live without oxygen. A rule without exception, right? Deprive a cell of 35% of its oxygen for 48 hours and it may become cancerous, right? Dr. Otto Warburg has made it clear, right, that the prime cause of cancer is oxygen deficiency. Brought by toxemia, Dr. Warburg discovered that the cancer cells are anaerobic, do not breathe oxygen, and cannot survive in the presence of high levels of oxygen. Hence the reason why when you put in hydrogen peroxide, or when they use hydrogen peroxide towards a virus, it kills the virus, right? Or it kills, and when you oxygenate your cells, right, you can actually take away the viruses or pathogens inside of you because you're bringing more oxygen. Meaning that cancer only exists inside of an acidic environment. For the body to be acidic, that means that there's either got to be a lack of oxygen, dehydration, meaning there's a lack of water as well, right? Because water is H2O, hydrogen, 2 oxygen molecules, right? So this is very important. So now we're kind of seeing, we know the root cause of the cancer. We know the root cause of this, right? So when you bring in more oxygen, right? We saw that here, and it's already been scientifically proven. If you add more oxygen, you can then defeat these viruses. So now, look at this. Everybody is now wearing these face masks. When you're wearing these face masks, we just spoke about the respiratory system, right? You're supposed to be breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. What this face mask is covering up your nose. So what is happening now is that with your nose being covered up, right? You can't actually get fresh oxygen. So what you're doing is recycling old toxins because you breathe in through your nose. You're supposed to be breathing in through your nose, filtering the air, and you breathe out the toxicity. You breathe out the toxins, right? So now with the face thing over here, with the face mask, you breathe in, you're recycling all of these toxins. You're recycling the carbon dioxide that you're actually excreting out. It's supposed to be out so you can get fresh air, right? So what the face mask is doing is actually depleting you of your oxygen, right? It's depleting you of your oxygen. It's actually bringing your O2 levels down, right? Which is an issue. But you can see how they market this to the people, and it's marketed with the coronavirus. It's marketed to the people that this is actually protecting you. But when we look at CVS, the people that actually sell this thing, this is on their website, right? Medical masks and face masks. Medical or surgical masks may help reduce the chance of spreading airborne viruses. Many wear them during flu season to avoid infecting others or being infected. They are not designed to protect the wearer from inhaling airborne bacteria or virus particles and are less effective than respirators, such as a N95 mask. I repeat, they are not designed to protect the wearer from inhaling airborne bacteria or virus particles. Right? So what they're saying is that everybody that's wearing this mask that thinks, especially in the hospitals where they're mandated to wear these things, you're actually lowering your oxygen levels, oxygen that can actually kill the virus, and you're actually stopping yourself from actually getting fresh oxygen, and you actually keep breathing in the toxicity or the carbon dioxide that you're supposed to be excreting out because you're recycling all this air with this face mask on, right? So that's what I mean by the propaganda and fake information and the way that is being marketed to the people, right? So now we're going right back into China because, Donald Trump called this a China virus, the coronavirus. We're still talking about the coronavirus. So where did this thing start? It started in Wuhan, China, right? At a wet market. This is where it was first known. It was first known that the first outbreak broke out in Wuhan, China, right? So Hong Kong, a strict ban on the consumption of farming of wild animals is being rolled out across China in the wake of the deadly coronavirus epidemic, which is believed to have started at a wildlife market in Wuhan, right? So remember that. It started off in Wuhan, China, right? So we see the start of that. But what else started in Wuhan, China, guys? This is very important because this is something that they're trying to say in the media that's fake news, it's fallacy, and they're trying to say that this is not real, and they're trying to cover this up, right? But we're going to speak about it. 5G is what they're trying to hide with this coronavirus, family. Let's be clear with it. So we can see that in February, right, 2019, China built a 5G smart highway, right? So they was building this 5G smart highway. The 5G smart highway project in the country is currently under construction. Once it's complete, telecommunication companies plan to introduce 5G servers on the highway, starting with the small toll stations that could replace the present equipment and human operators, right? 5G, the carrier has currently installed 31 5G base stations in Wuhan under this project, right? So the first place 5G was promoted or put on the face of this earth, right, was in Wuhan, China, right? Same place as this the wet market where they had the wildlife at, right? So this is very important. Let's pay attention to see this thing. But what is this 5G? So let's look at the evolution of 5G. So in 1979, right, we first started here. We had these little phones. Then we went to 1991, right? We had these phones. And then we had here, right? We got 2008. From here you had the snakes, and then we had the Nokia, the game Snake on it. Then you came here. We had the Sidekicks, 2008, 4G. Now we here, right? 2019, 2020, we got 5G. So we're dealing with frequencies, right? So we got to understand frequencies. What is a frequency, right? Because you can see here you got gigahertz. What is these gigahertz? What is the G? What does the G stand for? How many gigahertz is in there? What is the hertz? What is a hertz, right? So we're going to break that down too, all right? I'm going to explain all of that in the next slide. So you can see here, but the 5G has a bandwidth, right, of 3 to 300 gigahertz. So hertz is one wave, one hit towards per second, right? So let's just imagine one quarter note, one drum being hit 1 second. So a gigahertz is that happening. I'm going to explain that right here, right? So short for hertz. Hertz, megahertz, and gigahertz. These terms all refer to the numbers of times something changes in 1 second, right? So 1 hertz is 1 time per second, right? So 1 millihertz is 1,000,000 times per second, and 1 gigahertz is 1,000,000,000 times per second. So we got to understand that. So frequency. Now remember, we're dealing with frequencies. The rate at which a vibration occurs that constitutes a wave, either in a material as in a sound wave, right? or in an electromagnetic field. Remember, we as humans are electromagnetic beings, right? We have an electromagnetic field around us, and so do ourselves. As in radio waves and light, usually measured per second. So 5G vibrates at what? 3 to 300 gigahertz. What is 300 gigahertz, family? E, extremely high frequency, right? So now we gotta understand that this frequency, these waves, right? This high frequency, right? Remember, we are electromagnetic beings. So these waves, right, go through us and into us, right? And we absorb these waves as well, right? So that's very important. This is the divisions of the radio spectrum. So this is what the 5G does, right? Remember that. So now you got to understand attenuation, right? When we're speaking about oxygen levels and what happens in the air when attenuation can hit. So at 60 gigahertz, oxygen molecules in the atmosphere interact with the RF, which is radio frequencies, signals to cause significant attenuation. But what is attenuation, family? Attenuation, the reduction of force, effect, or value of something, right? So that means that when the oxygen goes through attenuation, that means it's losing its force. It's losing its value of loss, right? So the oxygen loses its levels, right? It loses its force. And that's very important because due to attenuation at 60 gigahertz, the band is not a good frequency to use for long-range radar or communication applications. This is what the 5G is using it for. Communications, broadband width, right? The long-range communications, right? So that's happening with the 5G. And 5G is being what? 300 gigahertz. So at 60 gigahertz, you can see oxygen molecules in the atmosphere interact with the radio frequencies, right? It causes the attenuation. So just at 60 gigahertz, oxygen molecules, they go through attenuation. So the oxygen molecules, they lose its force. And 5G, what is it doing? It's emitting 300 gigahertz. So our bodies are electromagnetic, so we feel those changes, especially being black folks and indigenous folks, right? This is very important. So you can see here on the screen here, right? You can see the frequency levels, right? When you have 300 gigahertz, right? As we go higher up in frequency, gases in the atmosphere start to react with radio frequency signals, right? Causing attenuation. As seen in the diagram below, oxygen causes significant attenuation at 60 gigahertz. And water vapor causes similar attenuation at 24 gigahertz and 184 gigahertz. Remember, 5G is doing what though? Right? It is emitting 300 gigahertz. So that's very important. And what happens when this happens, the attenuation, it causes the same respiratory issues that the coronavirus is doing. Right? So check this out. Let's watch this video real quick. Let's see what a 5G transmitter can do to nature, can do to a plant. If this is happening to something in nature, if this is happening to a tree, we're gonna watch this 5G tower or this transmitter decimate a tree, right? And this is happening to a tree, right? That's been standing up for so long, has ancestral memory in it. Imagine what it's doing to our cells. These transmitters are literally microwaving our cells. It's microwaving us from the inside out. So this is very important. So let's check this out. Let's check this video out real quick. Let's see what this...
Oh, really cool. Right, so we have a tree here. Not a very good looking tree. All the bark's falling off. All on the left hand side. Look on the left hand side of that tree. Look on the right hand side. Right, well look at the right hand side of the tree. Look at the front, look at the bushes. Look at the green bushes, yeah? Very nice. Look at the left hand side. Dead. You know why? Because that's right next to it. Look at this. Have you seen anything like that in your life? Got a light right there. Transmitter on the top. Now how's that? Explain that. The right hand side of the tree that's not next to the transmitter, they're growing away from it. It's okay. I mean, look at this. Look how shocking. Look at it. All dead. Totally dead. Far too close to their light. Look at the bark. All on the left hand side, look. Look how close it is to the light. These 5G transmitters are lethal. If that's what it's doing to a tree, right next to a tree, think about what these are doing to our health. Just think about that for a minute.
You gotta think about that. That's very important because look what that 5G transmitter did to a tree, an entire tree, right? Because of the waves, right, that it is emitting. 300 gigahertz. We already see what it does, what happens at 60 gigahertz to oxygen, right? When these microwave frequencies or these frequencies are emitted, right? These gigahertz, right? Because we are electromagnetic beings, so our bodies are receptive to these things, right? And they cause respiratory issues, right? So this 5G, as you can see in that video, it was very lethal, right? And we got to be mindful of these 5G transmitters and having the 5G around. And we have things, there's also crystals and different things that we can use to protect ourselves from these harmful radiations, right? But bringing it back to the respiratory system and understanding immunity, because we spoke about antibodies as well, right? How do we strengthen our immune system? How do we build up or boost our immunity? Because our immune system, the immunoglobulin, is what's there to protect our system, to protect our cells, right? From pathogens, viruses, and toxins, and things of that nature, right? So a healthy immune system can defeat invading pathogens, as shown above, where two bacteria that cause gonorrhea are no match for the large phagocyte called neutrophil that engulfs and kills them. See the arrows below. So you can see here, right? These are the two bacteria that causes gonorrhea. And you can see the phagocyte actually comes from the immune system. So it induces the immune response to take these pathogens out, and then you can see it decimates them, right? So this is what your immune system does. So when you strengthen the immune system, right? When you provide things to actually boost your immune system, that happens with what? What do we have to do those things? I'm going to break that down, but that happens with the nutrition, making sure you're getting enough oxygen to your cell, breathing properly, drinking a lot of water, getting a lot of H2O, right? Of course, the foods, right? Your nutritional regimen is very important towards your immunity, right? So, immunity boosters, family. What can we do? Vitamin C, we need citrus fruits, we need the lemon, we need the lime, we need the oranges, we need the mandarin, we need the tangerines, we need grapefruit. These are the fruits that will help boost your immunity, right? We also need green leafy veggies, arugula, dandelion greens, romaine lettuce. Those are just a few that we can use, right? Also, aerobic exercising, meaning with oxygen. Let me go back to a slide real quick so I can give you a little consensus. You can see here, right? Dr. Wahlberg has made it clear that the prime cause of cancer is oxygen deficiency brought by toxemia. Dr. Wahlberg discovered that cancer cells are anaerobic, meaning they don't breathe oxygen. So, if we know that we can kill viruses with oxygen, right? Oxygen kills viruses, it kills bacteria, right? We can see here, O2, and we breathe in oxygen. We breathe oxygen, right? We breathe oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide. So we also know that the cancer cells, right, can live without oxygen, right? So we have to continuously put oxygen into our bodies. So and that comes in through the respiratory system through breathing, right? So this is why another way to boost your immune system, right, to make sure you're getting oxygen in, is to aerobic exercising. That's cardio, making sure you're actually breathing with your workouts, right? And calisthenics. And of course, you gotta drink water. You can't get any more water to fuel life. You gotta stay hydrated. You want to drink that spring and that alkaline water, right? So you can get that alkalinity. We spoke about the alkaline earlier in the presentation, right? So crystal protection, things that you can use to protect you against 5G, right? So you have orgonite, right? So we have an orgonite crystal right here as well, right? We need that orgonite. The orgonite absorbs harmful microwaves from 5G, right? Also, you have shungite. which absorbs and neutralizes the dangerous frequencies from EMF, which is the electromagnetic frequencies of 5G. And also you have tourmaline, and acts as an effective EMF radiation blocker. So the tourmaline is a blocker. So you use tourmaline as well to block the EMF radiations from coming in. And orgonite like this would be absorbing it. And hematite is used to protect against the geopathic stress and electromagnetic smog as well, right? So these are crystals, right? Crystalline structures, minerals, right? Rocks, right? That we can use to protect yourselves from these 5G harmful radiations, right? So it's very important. And also, we need oxygen. We spoke about oxygen. Oxygen, right? If you have a lot of oxygen inside your body, cancer can't exist, and you will make sure that you can kill all these pathogens and parasites and viruses that actually exist in there because they don't like oxygen. Just like they don't like water. They're hydrophobic. They don't absorb water. They don't like water, right? So they can't be around them. So if you have a lot of plants in your house, right, that means you'll be getting a lot of fresh oxygen. So we need the oxygen. Right, so you can use plants like snake plant, you got bamboo, spider plant, peace lily, elephant ear, golden pathos. These are plants that we can have in our homes to provide more oxygen. Because the oxygen is what we need, family, to help kill these parasites, kill these viruses. Kill the viruses. We want to make sure we're killing these viruses because they don't like oxygen. And we need oxygen. Oxygen is what we need for to get to the cells, to make sure that, you know, they can actually breathe and get enough air, right? And you have enough air and oxygen, right? So, and also with these face masks that's deployed to stop you from actually getting enough oxygen. Because me speaking to one of the nurses that I actually know, right, that's working with this coronavirus thing, she's also saying that everyone that has the coronavirus, everyone that has been diagnosed with the coronavirus, all of their levels, their O2 levels have been low. Right? Meaning that their oxygen levels, their oxygen content is always low. Meaning that if their oxygen content was higher or at a normal level, more than likely the virus would not be in them because they're lacking the oxygen. Right? So this is another reason for how the virus can actually enter in and create a haven, because the body is lacking of oxygen. Right? So it's very important. Right? So me and my wife, we have our own business, Balanced Healing. We also have our products here, which is the antiviral viral tea. So what we use, we make a herbal blend, which for a 2-week supply. We also use a lot of antiviral herbs, and you can use some of these herbs at home if you have an herbal store around. You can get you some oregano, calendula, partiarco, ginger, garlic, elderberry, echinacea. These are the herbs that are used to help build your immunity and also fight off viruses, right? So this is very important that we use these things, because herbs are the healing of the nation, family. We can fight these things. Remember what I said at the beginning of this presentation? I'm above all viruses. We are above all viruses. Listen, we breathe in oxygen. If we constantly know how to breathe in properly, breathe through our nose, filter the air, filter the particles so we can breathe out the toxins, we will get the oxygen to the cells so we can make sure that we can be virus-free. Because listen, we breathe in mycobacteria and viruses all of the time. But guess what? Your immune system is what's killing them. Your immune system already produces antibodies to kill these things. Just like, you know, especially, I'm going to make a side note, us as black folks, us as melanated, black, Aboriginal, indigenous, African beings, right? Our bodies is very adept and very special. This is why we, right, are the original people, right? Even when we came into contact with malaria, right? With the mosquito, the disease or the virus that came in the mosquitoes, our blood forms into a sickle, right? And this is where sickle cell anemia came from. The body had an immune response, and just for it to live and to defend itself, it caused it to go into another disease-like state. But that's how powerful our bodies are, in tune it is, right? Because the body wants to survive. This is the defense mechanism. That's what the immune system does. And that's how important our cells and our genomes and the genetics of, you know, the black man is and the black woman. It's very powerful. So, you know, let's get back to this, right? So subscribe, family, like, share, follow. Make sure you get this out there, because what I want to tell family, what I want to tell you guys while I conclude this video and this presentation is that, you know, we are above all viruses, right? We are above this. We need to make sure we're getting enough oxygen, right? Because if you get oxygen, if you drink enough water, and remember, this is why we eat nature. This is why we eat in foods that come from nature, because they grow in nature. They have the 4 elements of nature: water, air, fire, and earth. Right? The plants and the veggies come from the plant. They come from the earth. Right? So they have the minerals. Right? They also have water. And this is what's going to be needed to fuel your cells. This is how you're going to get oxygen to your cells. Right? It's very simple. It's not necessarily rocket science. We got to know that we breathe in oxygen. We can't fast from oxygen. If you stop breathing for over 30 minutes, you wouldn't be here for that long. So we know that for a fact, that we need to make sure we're continuously breathing to get oxygen to the cell. Now, oxygen is a gas form, just like carbon dioxide is. Right? So now, if we're breathing in through our nose, this is the power of yoga, right? Yoga, the power of the breath. Very important, family. We need this. So if we constantly keep breathing, we constantly keep drinking water, if we're fueling our cells with the proper minerals and the nutrients that is needed, right, then we can fight all of these pathogens and these diseases that arise. Because, like I said in the beginning of this video, we breathe microbacteria, we breathe in pathogens and toxins all of the time, but our immune system stimulates a response and fights these things off. So sometimes you probably didn't even know that you were breathing these things in, but they were there, but your immune system fought them off, right? So we have to boost our immune system, right, to fight these pathogens, and we have to breathe oxygen. So stop wearing the face mask. Go outside, get you some sunlight. Vitamin D will also boost your immune system as well. So we also need vitamin D. We also need the sun. We are sun beings, especially black folks. You know, we don't get enough sunlight, right? And it's another thing. So with this coronavirus thing, remember, they're marketing this thing to us to make sure social distancing. We're not touching each other. This is a new world thing that they're trying to start, right? We're watching the world literally go digital. And with the children home, being homeschooled, right? Well, we already been homeschooling, you know, shout out to Ziax, the movement, right? But now they want the children to be schooled online. They want the money to be transferred, everything online. They want everybody to be working from home. Social distancing. See the marketing? Trying to keep everybody away from each other. Even when it comes down to sex. So it's another depopulation tactic to make sure that people can't produce because they're not in the same house. They're keeping them away from each other. Social distancing. We need to procreate. We need to make sure that we are reproducing, family. So this tactic, this depopulation tactic that's being put here, this is only one of those tactics here. And the coronavirus is a viral infection. And it's being marketed. Remember, stress is one of the leading causes of disease, right? Everything is mental. All is mental. So once this thing is induced in your mind and you feel that this virus can actually take you over, right? It starts up here, family. So once you know that you're good, you're breathing enough oxygen in, you're getting your herbs in to boost your immune system, you are above all viruses. Oxygen, hydrogen peroxide kills all viruses, right? Kills the yeast, kills the parasites, right? 5G, make sure you get yourself that orgonite, that shungite, to make sure so you can really absorb all those harmful microwave frequencies and all the things of that nature, those harmful rays and harmful waves, right? Because the 5G is out here too, right? Those towers are coming soon. And we gotta be mindful of the vaccinations. Because now, guess what's gonna happen? Now that they have this whole coronavirus epidemic, pandemic, for everybody, they close every school in the world. They close all the schools in America. Right? They close all the businesses. But guess what's going to happen now? For everybody to go back to school, to go back to work, they're going to be giving vaccinations. What did I say in the presentation earlier? Right? The vaccinations, they are giving you the disease. They're injecting you. They're inoculating the disease, the virus in you. So once you get the vaccine, you're definitely going to have the virus in you at that. So we have to be mindful of that. We have to protect ourselves. We have to arm ourselves, family. Let's get ready for it. Peace, love, life.
Guess what, bitch?